Do you ever feel like you're just passing the same 5 arguments through every function in your code? You could use a singleton to try to fix that, but that's not really recommended. But there's another way to solve that, and that's with a pattern called the context object. I'm going to start today with a simple example and improve it step by step and introduce this pattern. Along the way, I'll also talk about when not to use this pattern and what kind of features we have available in Python to avoid too much coupling in our code. The context object appears all over packages and libraries. A very good example of a context object is typically in the backend. You're going to have a request object that's going to contain the HTML data or JSON data that's been sent, header, stuff like that. So this is a good example of a context object. So it's used quite a lot in the backend. Another example where you might see it is if you have some template rendering engine like Django or something. It's going to have a context that contains all the variables and the data that you need in order to render that particular template. Here's the example we're going to work with today. As you can see, there is a render article function right here that gets a user ID, article ID, a database session, a logger, an API key, and maybe in the future even more things. Then there's a bunch of code here. There's some check if the user is allowed to do this. We're getting an article. If it's not there, there's an article not found result. And then finally, if everything works out as we want, then we can actually render the HTML and return that as a result. Then I have a main function that sets up some logging. It initializes the database, creates a session, has an API key, and it then calls render article to render some of those articles. Now, this doesn't use an actual database in the cloud or something. This uses SQL Alchemy together with a SQLite in-memory database just for demo purposes. And this is the code for that. So there's an article table. There's a function to initialize the database. And this also fills our in-memory database with a few articles, so we can just write some code around that. And then here's a function that gives us a database session using a generator and context manager. So nothing too fancy, but at least allows us to write some code that kind of resembles what you might encounter in real life. So let me run this file, and then this is what we get as a result. So it renders the first article. And the second one, basically there's unauthorized access by user 41. And that's because there is this hard-coded check right here. But if I change this to user 42, then actually this is an article that is not found because there is no article with this ID in our in-memory database. So then we get this as a result. By the way, if you want to learn more about how to design a piece of software from scratch, I have a free guide for you. You can get it at ArjanCodes/design guide. This contains the 7 steps I take whenever I design new software. Hopefully it helps you avoid some of the mistakes I made in the past. Arjan.code/design guide, link is in the video description. Now, the problem we need to solve is that the render article has a lot of different things that you need to pass as an argument. Now, you might be able to split up this function a bit more. Perhaps we could do the authorization check somewhere else, or maybe we could pass the article as an argument to the render function, but still, you'd still need a logger, so there's only so much you can win with this. So one way to solve this problem is by not passing all of these things separately, but creating an object and grouping them. And that's basically what the context object pattern is. So the context object then contains everything you need to do whatever you need to do. And that's what you pass around through different areas in your application. So what would this look like here? Well, in this case, what we could do is create a class that contains basically these things, right? Or perhaps not the article ID, because that's maybe something you want to pass directly into the function. So that's clear that this is what it's going to render. But the other things like the user ID, the database session, the logger, the API key, that's all things that we could group and that you can also use in other areas of your code. So in order to do that, I'm going to use a data class. And then I'm going to create a class, let's call that app context. And there we can put in the various things that are currently passed as an argument to render article. For example, the ID of the logged in user could be in here. Or we could have the database session. we could have the logger. And we can also add the API key here. But let's say there are even more config settings that we want to add here. So let's say we have a config dictionary, which is a string to, let's say, of type any. Like so. So now we have our app context data class. And what we can do then here is create a context. Like so. And then in this context, we can have our various settings and IDs and whatever we need. Then this we also don't need anymore right here. Now what we can do in render article, instead of passing all of these things as an argument here, is we can refactor this so that we just pass the article ID and we pass the context, like so. And now we can update the body. So this uses context.userid. Here, of course, we have context.db for the session, context.logger. It's kind of annoying that you have to write context dot in front of everything. Of course, you could extract those variables again out of the context object at the start and then define them as local variables, basically. Or alternatively, you could actually make context a tuple. And then you still have the grouping and then you can access them here as well. There's various ways in which you can do this. I'm just using a class in this example. But one thing that it does solve, as you can see, is that the context is now passed here as an argument. So we lost those 5 different arguments. We just have 2 now. Of course, I also need to change that here. So we no longer need to pass the user ID and we simply pass the context. And here as well, like so. Let's run this again and see whether it still works, and it does. So that's the context object in essence. We group things, which reduces the number of arguments, and then we can also use this in other types of functions. For example, let's extend the functionality by also allowing us to publish the article by sending the HTML to some external service. So let's say we have a send to external service and we want to send the HTML, and again we have the context, like so. Let's first extract the API key and then we can print that we're sending something to an API with this particular API key, like so. And now let's say right here, we will also send to external service the article and we simply pass the context, like so. Let's run this. And now we see that this is being sent to the API. Now, the nice thing about this is that because we have the context object, we don't have to worry about what kind of things we need to pass along to other types of functions, like so. And there's a disadvantage here as well that I'll come to in a minute. But another thing you can do now, for example, is let's say we also have a publish article that actually, again, relies on first rendering the article and then sending it to the external service. And then what we can do in publish article is that we pass the article ID and we also pass the context, like so. And now what we could do, for example, is extract now the user ID check here from render article, because we just want this to render an article, like so. And we put it in here. And then next up, what we could do is render the article by passing the article ID in context and then send it to the external service, like so. And what we can do then here is we just call publish article and we want that for article ID 1 with the context. Let's run this. There we go. So now it's rendering the article and sending it to the API just like before, but we created a higher level function and I reorganized things a little bit. But as you can see, working with the context object like so is, it's pretty nice. But there is actually a problem if you continue doing this. And that's one of the disadvantages, one of the problems with this particular pattern, which is that now each of these functions is dependent on this app context. And that means that potentially each of these functions will know about the user ID, the database session, the logger, the config. And if we add more things here to the app context object, then all of these functions are going to have access to that information. And that means you can accidentally introduce a lot of coupling, which, well, it's not really a good thing. It just means that it's much easier to introduce problems if you change that context object in the future. Then a bunch of functions may no longer work because you added all this coupling to the code. So that's a problem with this pattern. And you also see, for example, here, like this particular function sending to an external service, it needs the HTML and it needs the API key. It doesn't need to know anything about an app context. It doesn't care. It just needs an API key in HTML. So in this case, the context object doesn't solve any particular design problem. It just introduces more coupling. So what you can do instead of trying to do this is to actually not pass the context object in this case. So in this case, let's say we just have an API key, right? And then we turn that into a string. And then this line, we don't need that anymore. And now, of course, we have to change the code here. So now we have to access the API key from the config object, like so. So this is already better because this lower level function, that's basically what it is, it doesn't need to know anything about high level concepts, such as the context object. So it can simply pass the arguments that are needed, more lower level arguments. Arguably, you could also say that about the render article function, right? It doesn't need to know a lot of things that are in the context. It needs access to the database and it needs access to the logger. And that's basically it. Well, there's the API key here that it's printing. But since I separated out the sending it to an external service, then maybe this is not even needed here anymore. So let's refactor this a little bit. So one thing we could do, for example, is that render article doesn't get an article ID in a context, but it simply gets an article and a logger. Like so. Oh, and that should be logging. Yeah. So it gets an article and it gets a logger. And what we then need to do is this part, we could create a function called retrieve article. And this gets an article ID and a database session. This will return an article. This also needs a logger. I'll come to the point in a minute. So we get the article. If it's not there, there's an error and it returns none. We could also raise an exception potentially, but let's change the annotation so that this can actually return none. Article ID should be an integer, like so. So that retrieves the article. Then we have rendering the article. So this takes the logger and it renders the article. It has the article ready, so it can simply print the ID. I'm not going to print the API key anymore, like so. And then it creates the HTML. Now, publish article, then first retrieves the article. And we get the article ID. And it needs the database and the logger, like so. And if there's no article, then we return this, and otherwise we render the article and we pass along the article and the logger. And finally, we send that to an external service. So now I've refactored this a little bit, reorganized this a little bit, where a publish article knows about the context, but the lower level functions don't. And depending on what you need, you can still decide to pass the context to a lower level function. Perhaps retrieve article, you think, well, maybe it might be helpful to actually pass a context object here because we have both the database session and the logger. But I feel like if you have 3 arguments, that's still acceptable. And same for rendering article. I think if we just have the article and the logger, to me, that's pretty okay, right? You could also decide as an alternative to the context object to put things like the logger just simply on the top level of the code. So we simply define it here. It's what you also quite often see in Python scripts. And then you don't need to pass it as an argument everywhere. So depends on the kind of solution that you're looking for. Another thing you can do to reduce coupling a bit is by using abstraction mechanisms in Python. So for example, here I have a database session and I have a logger, but now I'm directly dependent on these object types here. Instead, what you can do is define a bunch of protocols using Python's protocol mechanism that can look like this. Just import the protocol type. So in that case, we have, for example, a database protocol, which is basically a session. So that has a query method. And we have a logger protocol that has info and error and other types of logging mechanism that we need. And now what you can do is we can change, let's say, render article so that it gets a logger protocol. And you can change retrieve article so that it gets a database protocol as a logger protocol as well. So that further reduces coupling. It removes the direct dependencies on these specific kinds of objects. Overall though, the way I typically use the context object is that I will generally use this in high-level functions or methods, like a publish article in this case. Because to me, the context object is like a high-level object that brings together a lot of different things. So you want to be careful until what level you pass it through in your application. So I normally stick to the higher level functions and methods, like publish article, but then the lower level things, like in this case, rendering an article or sending it to some API or retrieving an article, I don't want to pass the entire context object around because that just introduces a bunch of coupling. So typically what I will do, I will simply pass as an argument whatever these functions are going to need. And in most cases, as you can see here, that's just a few arguments. And then if you want to further reduce coupling, you can use protocol classes like I did here for the logger or for the database session. And then you can later on replace it with a mock if you want to write some tests for it, for example. So overall, when to use these context objects, in particular if you're passing the same values through various layers of function calls, a context object is a great way to group those things. If the values are conceptually related, like app configuration, runtime info, or direct dependencies, then it makes sense to group them. If you want to simplify testing, mocking, refactoring, a context object can also be helpful. But there are some cases where you should avoid it because it does encourage sort of lazy design, just, putting everything into the context object just in case you need it somewhere. If you pass a context object to a low-level utility function, it just introduces a bunch of coupling, so don't do that. Those should only take simple inputs. And another issue that can occur with context objects, that it becomes a sort of God object. And that's exactly what, of course, we try to avoid. So they're not a silver bullet. They're a tool that you can use. You can use them to simplify complexity, but you don't want to hide that. So the pattern is quite common, and I hope by showing you the pattern today that you also find some ways to use it to improve your own code. And by the way, if you're enjoying these deep dives into design patterns in Python, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This really helps me a lot, and this also ensures that you're not going to miss the next video where I'm going to clean up yet another messy code base. Anyway, context object pattern helps reduce repeated parameters, improves testability, but it can also introduce coupling, which is why tools like protocols help you keep your design pretty flexible. And in general, high-level functions can work with a context object, but for lower-level utility-style functions, I think it's better to be precise and focused and just pass the arguments that it actually needs. So keep those low-level as well. But I'd love to hear what you think. Have you used context objects like this in your code base? Have you written code that's designed in this way? Let me know in the comments. Now, if you enjoyed this video, you might also like the video I did about the builder pattern. Especially if you have a complex object, this pattern can be a lifesaver. To learn more, click right here. Thanks for watching and see you next time.